Hey everyone, welcome to Feel It to Nail It. Today I'm actually joined by Lindsay. We're doing a co-host today and awesome. We have Julianne. Julianne, thank you for joining us as well. How are you two doing?
Doing good.
Hi. Hi. Thank
Happy
you for
Saturday.
having me.
Hey, absolutely. Okay, I have a question for you, Julianne. We've been thinking a little bit about you, your background. We hear more about that, but you're in a field where you give a lot of advice. But that means you've also received a lot of advice. So I'm curious about advice that you've been given at any point in your life that wasn't really helpful at all, right? I'm curious about advice that was not good that you would never give to anyone else. Tell me about that.
Advice that I would not give to anyone else.
Hmm.
That would be how can I word this? Tell me how I need to live my life. I think that it's best, what I've learned is that I need to listen, ask questions rather than tell that person how to, how to eat healthy, how to work out. Asking questions first is most important instead of just, giving them instructions right away.
Do you have people that ask you for instructions? Like, hey, tell me how to live my life? Like they specifically ask for you to do that for them?
Oh, yes. Yes, quite often. Yes.
This happens in therapy actually as well. I know this isn't going to be the main theme, but in group therapy, there is this dynamic that tells us how healthy a group is as a whole. And when there's advice giving, that
Oh,
almost tells
yeah.
us that there isn't emotional connection. There's actually disconnect when people go, "Oh my gosh, that sucks. You should do this." Or, "Hey, here's some," and there's actually a lot of the time they're trying to help, but there's a level of emotional immaturity that
Yes.
is there, as opposed to when the group levels up and it's, oh man, that sucks. Like, what is that experience like? I don't really understand that. It's very different when they go from, let me help you, here's some advice, to let me connect. And so
Yeah.
it is a very different dynamic.
Yeah. And you've made me very excited about the situation that I can think of when, before my whole story really started, is asking a counselor to help me figure out how I was feeling. So I
Mhm.
think the really important part in health coaching, in teaching my students, is to meet them where they are, because everyone is in a different place at different times, and asking those questions can bring up, little bits and pieces. It might take a while, but you're going to find out what it is that is their roadblock.
I think you're starting to touch on these other nuggets of wisdom, right? Because there is a time and place for advice, but there is some precedent. There's something that has to be there first, right? And
Yeah.
you're alluding to your career right now. You're alluding to what you do. Our listeners aren't quite aware of what it is. So let's jump into it. So, Julianne, tell me about you. Tell me about your background and what you do professionally.
Yeah. So I am. I do a couple of things. I'm a health
Okay.
coach. I was doing personal training as well. Kind of taking a step back from that because of my work that I'm doing now with students. I teach medical assistants, and I
Hmm.
also get to place them in clinics. So I'm empowering students. Yeah, I guess what I'm saying really is, with all of my work that I do, is I empower people. I empower people to live their best life.
Okay. I love it. It is a lot of things it sounds like, and that seems like the surface level. But if we want to dive a little deeper, which part of it is your favorite? What is the part that you really gravitate toward?
Mm. The part I really gravitate toward is when I have a student that just actually has no hope, or they've had a roadblock that
Mm.
has stopped them and they want to pull out of school. Um, I try to give them hope, because really that is the biggest thing. It's to understand that, yes, we all go through things, but how can we control the things that we can control? I always talk about it like a hula hoop, right? We have our own little hula hoop. We can take care of everything within that hula hoop, but you might have a brother over here causing trouble that you are so concerned about, but you have a hula hoop. You have this hula hoop of your education. You have, the maybe a child that they have. just, trying to show them that they can only control certain things of their lives.
Mm.
So I think that's probably the most important thing, is just the whole aspect of hope.
Okay, I'm putting together some pieces here because when we dive deeper into this part that you gravitate toward, this permeates into every field, really, right?
Mm.
Everyone has this universal experience of, man, I feel discouraged. I want to pull out. I'm experiencing failure here. I'm falling short. I'm not going as fast. This is something that happens every field. This is a
Yeah.
human experience. So I can kind of see why, if this is what you're gravitating toward, you see this in a lot of different professions, or you see this in a lot of different fields or jobs, whatever it may be. This is why you experience this in your professional career. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
putting pieces together.
I love how you framed that too. I think it's a lot of times people will just say, "Oh, I'm a doctor," or "I'm a nutritionist," or something, and you're like, "I empower people," and I love the way that you frame that, because you're doing a lot of things, but in reality, your passion is empowering people to live their best life. So, really,
Yeah,
really cool way to frame it. Thank you.
it's so fulfilling.
Mm-hmm. What have you developed as far as strategies go to help the students who are actually struggling, then the ones who are having these failures or having these discouragements?
What am I doing to help develop that? Is that what you're
Yeah.
asking?
Yeah. What strategies have you developed to help them?
Okay, so it's different with each
Okay.
student. Um, yeah, like I said, I do find that I meet people where they are. If I'm a very empathetic person, so if I sense anxiety, for example, I give them, some breathing tools, the finger breathing. I don't know if that is easy to
Mm-hmm.
explain over a podcast,
Mm-hmm.
but just some breathing techniques, I guess, is the best way to explain it. I also have students who can't organize their schedule. And so I go over a schedule with them. We talk about block scheduling. Even with my health coaching clients, I talk about block scheduling, because people will not put in a workout unless they have it in their calendar. Just trying to give them tools to organize their day without their day getting away from them. Another thing that I do bring up with some of the strategies I use with students are things that I've learned in my own therapy, which is talking about the all or nothing thinking, talking about our mental filters that we have in our brains. Because I am one that has also struggled with that, because I am human as well. Mental filter basically is when we're only looking at the negative of ourselves, we can't see the positive. So finding a way to change the narrative in their heads, I think, is really important. The black and white thinking, I failed at this, so then I'm not good at this type of thing. Those are things that I really, really like to bring up. Some of them don't have those skills. I have a lot of diverse students.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so you've learned these techniques, you developed them, you empathize, but that probably means you yourself had to go through some element of struggle, because this is not an easy thing to teach. When you're in this position where you're helping people,
Mhm.
a lot of people who haven't experienced that often defer to advice giving, like, hey, I'm not connected with you. This is what you need to do. But for you, you connect very deeply first, which is why you can say, man, this is a struggle. Help me understand what's going on. And you're walking side by side. You're not necessarily leading, you're
Yeah,
beside them. And
yeah.
so, how have you gotten to that point?
Ooh, so how have I gotten to that point? I'm not sure if this is really answering it, but you just made me think of a specific student that I was talking to the other day. She had a family situation come up, and she said, I'm going to have to drop out. I'm just going to have to drop out. And I looked at her and I said, let me tell you a story. I had a time in my life where I lost just about everything. And somebody offered education to me. And when they offered that education to me, that was the first positive thing I had in front of me. So if you can just think about that, think about moving forward, taking care of you. Do you think that would be what you would want? And I think that she took it, at least what she told me, is she called me mom. Because
Okay.
I think I really, I care. I care about my students. I care about my clients. And I think that's what it is I go in with caring, because people don't care what you know. They only care, they only know that you care, right? So I think that is the number one piece to what I do with the people that I work closely with.
When I hear that someone says they lose everything,
Yeah.
I can't wrap my head around that sometimes. Sometimes I think of financial devastation, or I think losing friends and family, they're disconnected, or I think chronic pain, like their functionality is gone, or like I don't know what that means exactly. What are you willing to divulge in that way? What is it that you feel like has been the trial that helps you connect with people?
Okay. So gonna try not to get too emotional.
Okay.
So I went through a very painful divorce. And
Okay.
during that time, we both didn't handle it very well. And I literally didn't have a roof over my head.
Hmm.
My kids were upset, of course.
Sure.
And I had lost my job. And so I really had lost everything. And that's the first time I'd ever heard of the Maslow hierarchy of needs.
Yeah.
So that, those that don't know what that is, it's, do you have a roof over your head? Do you have people that support you? Do you have your family? I mean, there's all these different things. And I had lost just about every single one of them. And I think I'd walked in to see and I'm just going to give you a little piece of this where there's hope. I walk in and I tell my counselor, I said, I just lost my job. And she turned around and she was sitting at her computer, much like I am right now. And she looked at her computer and she said, there is 1 day left. You can apply for college as a single mother. And that is when I first saw the first focus of the positive, I guess, journey that I've been on. And that's when education became very important to me. It made me understand that there's things I didn't know about the world. And it made me understand that there were other options for me, I guess. And that's why I believe that education is so powerful if you use it in the right way, of course.
Yeah. I'm so grateful that you shared that, because when I was saying, is it financial, is it social, like I was listing these things off and you're like, it is all of them.
All
I
of them.
experienced all of these. Man,
Yeah,
I have
yeah,
no idea what that's like. I can't even imagine. Holy cow. And so there's other people that experience even a fraction of that. And that's why you can walk side by side with them. And that's why you're here to
yeah.
empower. It doesn't matter what their situation is or what field they're in. You're here to
And
empower.
and I'm sorry if I just interrupted you, but I will
No, you're good.
say that I don't know everybody's story. They don't know my
Yeah.
story. I can look at them and think, yeah, they should be doing that. I mean, for example, we might see a celebrity that's going through whatever trouble. Right now it's Justin Timberlake. Well, sorry, people, you got to know, you don't know their story. Like literally, we don't know the story. We're all humans. We make mistakes. It's what we do with those mistakes and what we do with any of those horrible things that we maybe have gone through, how we come back from it, right? What we've
Mhm.
learned from it, if we learn from it.
Yeah. I think it's also about taking those opportunities that come your way, because I think
Yeah.
just as easily you could have been like, I don't have the money for school. I don't have the time for school. I'm a single mom with kids. Like, how am I supposed to make time for school? You could have just been like, I don't know, I can't do this. I can't do this. But you took that opportunity to go back to school and take those steps to your life. And I'm sure that it wasn't easy, right? It's not like, oh, I took
Yeah.
this opportunity, everything's magically better. And you probably ran into quite a lot of trial and failure along the way. So I'd like to hear a little bit more about that. What happened afterwards, and what allowed you to take that opportunity and instead of running from it?
Yeah. Honestly, I will say that my kids were my driving force. Um,
Hmm.
I met my wonderful husband now that I have now. We actually went to high school together, so I knew him before, but we ended up getting married and we moved to Utah because he worked in education as well. And I got more education. I went into behavioral health and I loved it. I didn't understand the whole sociology piece. That was so interesting to me. And then I just continued. I felt like a lifelong learner, but I ended up getting my MBA in healthcare management, and kept thinking, okay, I think I'm on the right path. I'm on the right path because I loved healthcare in general. And I got into management in healthcare, thought that was the way I wanted to go. I knew I cared about people, but I didn't feel like it was really the right place for me still. And that's why I went into health coaching, because I thought, okay, I'm not able to be as creative as I want to be in my work. So maybe this health coaching entrepreneurship is the way to go. And it has been wonderful. I've been doing it for 6 years, but it doesn't pay all the bills. So that's another piece that I just kind of I worked in medical assisting here and there, worked in all different fields, literally almost every field that you can think of, and really gained a lot of experience in understanding all of those fields, and then ended up having somebody reach out to me from LinkedIn because I had kept my resume up to date, mainly for my health coaching, and was offered a position by a recruiter for working in education with medical assisting college students. And I hope that answered your question. I know I may have gone off tangents. I tend to do that at times when I get excited about what I'm talking about.
Yeah, we love that too. It
Yeah.
happens in therapy a lot as well, right? Because there are always emotions attached to the stories that we tell, which
Yeah,
means we start answering the question and all of these emotions come up, which means we get more details, get many more details. And so, yeah, I think it's a great question, Lindsay, and I think it's a great answer. Okay.
okay.
And so, as we're talking about this, I'm wondering about some of the things that we can take away from this, we can glean because you've told us your story. And we have
Yeah.
listeners here who are thinking about either your field specifically or any specific takeaway points. So, in your reactions to failure, what are some mindsets that people can adapt to or some mindsets that people can adopt? What would you say?
Things that they can adopt from failure.
Hmm.
Is that what you're
Yes.
asking? Okay. So I think one of them that's really good is what is in your head. That is the point of view, may not be the world's point of view. What's inside your body and inside your brain is totally separate. You are judging yourself so much. So you need to understand that, okay, you are an important person, but you're not so important that the whole world's talking about you and how you didn't do something correctly. We're all going to fail, right? I'm thinking of like actually have used this for my students recently. When I love to bake, I love to cook, I love to make new recipes,
You
and
do videos of those sometimes that are fun to
I
watch.
do. I haven't done one for quite some time, but I sure enjoy doing it, especially when my husband joins me.
Mhm.
But it's an experiment. Life is an experiment, right? We're experimenting with recipes. We're experimenting with our jobs. You two are experimenting right now as we speak. You're experimenting with this, and it's, I've listened to some of the podcasts. They've been really helpful to me. I would like to also mention that, I think success is not linear, right? We've heard that.
Hmm.
Just remembering that. And, it's not always an upward trend.
Hmm.
And failing is part of succeeding. It's just what it is.
You actually mentioned in the very beginning of today's interview, where we talked about advice and we talked about your experience, this black and white thinking that people always fall into. And you like to help people open up their mind and correct some of these biases. And this is a major issue I see in therapy as well, are these logical fallacies, these cognitive fallacies, cognitive struggles that people have, which actually are there to protect. They're shortcuts. They're shortcut mechanisms a lot of the time. They're also defense mechanisms a lot of the time. They're
Mm.
designed to help. Because of that, they can be very hard to break down. You mentioned in the beginning that this is a big hurdle for a lot of people. And now
Mm-hmm.
you're mentioning this is a big thing that people need to work through. We've come full circle now. I can see that this permeates a lot of how you try to empower people, which is your experience of reality may not always be reality. And
Mm-hmm.
even if it is, like, hey, maybe we did fall short. It doesn't mean it will always be that way. Your experience of reality now is also not permanent. And so you're basically telling people your experience doesn't have to stay this way, and it may not actually be as it seems. That's what I got
Yeah.
out of what you said.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Okay, that's a big takeaway point for me today as well. Lindsay, what about for you?
I think for me, and every time that I've talked to you before, it's hope. And
Yes.
I feel like a huge role that you have in empowering people is to give them hope. Because a lot of the reasons why we can't work through failure is we don't believe that there's anything that good that can come out of it, or we don't believe in ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
or we don't believe that we can actually be the person that we want to be. And that's just a lack of hope. And so I feel that a lot of what you strive to do, and what I take away from this conversation the most, is to develop a mindset of hope, and that can look like a lot of different things,
Uh-huh.
but kind of live your life with this hope that whatever you're going through, it doesn't have to be the end all. um, that you have the option to
Oh
kind
yeah.
of take your life into whatever direction you want to take it, regardless of, you've lost everything. And I think that that's something that how you can really relate to all of your students is, you have actually been at the lowest of lows in your life before and made decisions that didn't happen overnight, but to get you to where you are. And I imagine, as well as we're talking right now, that you're also still not where you want to be. You're still, working on your life, and you're probably still
Yes.
experiencing failures right now as we speak. And so, keeping that in mind too, a lot of times people will listen to us and think, oh, well, these guys are, they've been able to work through their failures, but they're where they want to be right now. And in
Yeah.
reality, we're all still kind of on this path of
Yes.
working through failure. Yeah.
Yeah, we are. I mean, to me, if I'm not either creating or learning, I am not living, I guess. I used to say I'm dying, but I don't think that's the right word. It's time that I'm not living if I'm not doing those
Sure.
things. Yeah, yeah.
Uh-huh.
I'm still going to school too. I mean, it's crazy. I just can't stop. It's just I love it.
Oh, wow. What are you in school for right now?
Master's in the nursing program for where
Oh,
where I work. So it's been really nice. I think I can, do just a little bit more with that, to help people.
Mm-hmm.
I've had people ask me, well, do you just want more credentials after your name? Not really. I mean, it's nice, but it's not the main thing. It's just, I think it allows me to just do so much more for my clients, for my students. And I think I'll continue teaching once I finish as well. I'll continue teaching like in nursing and things like that.
I often find that people who are comfortable with failure, when I say comfortable, I mean they're the people who recognize that failure is that process of success, like you described. They become lifelong learners.
Yep.
They love to learn. They realize that learning is this process of continually failing. And so when you talk about, man, failure, when you say success is not linear, is this succeed, fail, fail, succeed, right? It's this whole
Yeah.
process. And that is what learning is like as well. And when you can be comfortable with learning that way, they both seem synonymous. And so I can see the connection there. And it seems like you'll be learning something after you get finished with the nursing program. There'll be something else, I imagine.
Yeah, and it's the same way with the coaching as well, right? There, it's like doing the laundry; it's never done. So,
Yep. Yep.
right?
Exactly. Good. Hey. Well, for today, we'll wrap up around here. Julianne, it was so great to have you. And Lindsay, thank you for assisting me today. I loved it.
Thank you so much. It was great. I loved it.
Okay, absolutely.
Thanks, Julianne.
All right. Thank you, everyone else, for tuning in. We'll call it a day. Take care, everyone. Okay, bye-bye.